Welcome to 60 Skills. In today's lesson, you will learn how to learn Kabbalah from the spirit world, evocation of Ezhobar, Luna. In today's lesson, you will learn all about why you would want to evoke a Kabbalah spirit from the moon, the energetics specific to the lunar sphere, how to train these energetics, and the energetics writ large involving the planetary meditations. Additionally, there will be a brief evocation of Ezhobar. So join 60 Skills today as we learn everything there is to learn about how to learn Kabbalah from the spirit world, the moon. Welcome to 60 Skills. I will now discuss the requirements to learn the Kabbalah from a spirit, the moon portion. To practice this lesson, you, at a minimum, need to have control over your own Akasha. The reason for this is quite simple. Without access to Akasha, and preferably non-dual light as well, control over any of the entities that are in fact evoked in this process will be rather difficult. In fact, instead of practicing as a magician, you will be practicing as a sorcerer, in which you will be utilizing ritual and the power of your will to control these entities. And that is a battle that you will eventually lose. Additionally, you should have completed the first course that dealt with the Near Earth School. Keep in mind, these entities that will be covered in this series are largely considered beneficent. However, you should have done at least some work with establishing equilibrium to have begun to mitigate your own personality. Finally, and this cannot be overstated enough, never attempt an evocation if you are in a bad mood or have recently engaged in highly negativistic behavior. If you do this, the entity that you bring forth will reflect off of that, and in turn, that is what you will generate, a negative manifestation of that entity, and you do not want that. Finally, for these practices, you really do require your own practice space, preferably one that is not used by other people. There are some real limitations to this based off your personal finances, so this also has to be kept in mind. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss why evoke Ezhobar. Quite simply put, the moon, or Luna as it is sometimes referred to, is the first in a series of planetary meditations. These planetary meditations have both an energetic and highly esoteric developmental timeline of their own. Doing this has value because these orbs, known as planets, also have a physical aspect to their manifestation in this world. Specifically, the moon applies directly to an individual's astral field, and we will get to that in a moment. However, the main reason why you wish to invoke Ezhobar as a Kabbalistic teacher is he is the first in a succession of these entities. Now, there are three different pathways this can be covered. You can go to the sun, you can stop there, you can go to Saturn and stop there, or you can go all the way to Pluto in the outer planets. Either way, if you wish to learn Kabbalah from a spirit, you have to follow their hierarchy in order to do this. And while many people do not bother with the Near Earth realm, you absolutely must start with the lunar realm if you have not already done the Near Earth realm. Ideally, the Near Earth realm entity will end up introducing you to your Kabbalistic teacher on the moon as well. But that is a topic for another time. That said, there are many reasons to want to do this. If you wish to learn Kabbalah as it is structured in Bardon's third book, Key to the True Kabbalah, having a teacher in person is highly valuable It is one of the reasons why I created a bunch of coursework on this topic. That said, any human teacher will eventually run out of knowledge regarding how to go forth with Kabbalah. The simple fact of the matter is, it is an impossibly broad topic. They will have their method that works for them and is congruent with their life's path. But unless something very strange is going on, you will be a different individual from your teacher on many levels. This is where learning from the spirits of the Kabbalah has great value. They are simply able to introduce technology to you that you don't otherwise have from your physical teacher. Additionally, keep in mind, spirits largely reflect off of whatever you are and what work you have done. So, this being said, studying with a Kabbalah spirit after you have studied with a physical teacher has great merit, because at this point in time, you will already have developed quite a bit of knowledge regarding Kabbalah. This in turn gives the spirit more to reflect off of. In conjunction with significant development of your personal path in life, specifically having already developed Akasha and non-dual light on your own, this ensures that the nature of the spirit that shows up is largely one that is non-dual in nature. Additionally, having access to Akasha gives you the ability to return the spirit home if you accidentally summon a negative manifestation, or in the process of bringing that spirit down, attract additional spirits from your ambient environment that you are not interested in. As a practical matter, when you are working with the spirits of the Kabbalah, what they are going to do is show you how to use the energies involved. The clearer your clairvoyance and clairaudience are, the clearer a transmission you are going to receive from these entities. This cannot be overstated enough. However, even if you only have your clairsentience or subtle sense of touch developed, that still works out. You will end up simply knowing things regarding about how to apply Kabbalah. You will not be able to have a direct conversation with the entity involved, but that's okay. The more you work with the entity, the more it will enter your dreams and your other essential downtimes of your mind, and this will foster a closer relationship. One issue with working with entities in particular is you don't want to be able to clone their personal energy. What you want to be able to do is develop the energies that they show you. So in this regard, ideally used, working with Ezhobar will essentially create a practice partner, or more specifically, provide a practice partner to you that covers the powers of the moon. Energetically, this deals with the astral realm and water to a degree, but not really. Again, we will get more into that when we get to the energetic portion of the discussion. So as you can see, there are many reasons why you would want to work with Ezhobar. Now, there are two ways to do this. On the one hand, you can go to him with a specific question. As usual, on the first meeting, do not say anything until he speaks to you. There are a variety of practical reasons for that, and if you have any questions about that aspect of evocation, I strongly advise you checking out Franz Bardon's second book on the practice of evocation. So you can go in there with a predetermined question of going, show me how to do this. You can also go in there with an open-ended question and go to the spirit, show me what I most need to learn, or show me something I need to learn. This is where having powerfully engaged your non-dual light first and largely interacting with the spirit at the non-dual level will ensure that you get the most accurate non-dual information. And it is that information that is almost always helpful for your life's purpose. So these are a bunch of reasons why you would want to learn Kabbalah from the lunar realm. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss the function of the energetics of the lunar realm. Keep in mind, there is also a short handout or excerpt from an upcoming book I have on training the planets that is included in this lesson. Now, energetically, what the lunar realm primarily deals with is astral energy, and this aspect of its function is well understood in metaphysics. In fact, to the degree energetic development happens with most ritual magicians, it happens as a result of their working with the planets. Why is this? Well, first of all, whenever you're dealing with a planetary energy, you need to understand that classically there are two aspects to this. There is the intelligence aspect, which is the information side of the equation, or the qualitative aspect of the planet. And then there is what is conventionally referred to as the spirit of the planet, which is the quantitative or power aspect of the planet. Now, regardless of which approach you take, and for safety's sake, working with the spirits is the way to go with this. Normally, the spirit aspect of a planet, or its power or quantitative aspect, is largely reserved for use with specific sigils drawn on sigil plates or sigil tiles in order to develop talismanic magic or statuary magic, which we may discuss at some point in the future. So it's well understood that these planetary energies all have their specific impact upon the energies of the human body, and as such both increase sensitivity and your ability to work with a given band of energy. Astral being the most well-known aspect of working with the moon or Luna. However, there are also several other aspects of this that bear mentioning. First of all, when you talk about working with the astral aspect of your personal energy, what Luna is going to do is it is greatly going to expand your astral field and make it much stronger. Your first few experiences with this can even be a little overwhelming. It really depends upon the individual. So this is something that is frequently discussed. Now I will get into the issues that are not so frequently discussed. First of all, the astral aspect of Luna is so profound that it is also one of the safest counterbalances for all of the other planetary energies. The reason for this is the other planetary energies are largely mental in nature. Not always, but largely. As a result, the astral aspect of working with the moon or Luna allows you to sync all of those energies. This is why you should always work in your initial workings with Luna or the moon energy as a counterbalance to all of the other energies going forth. Specifically, you need to get 10 to 20 hours of time in with Luna or the moon before you move on to Mercury or any of the other energies. This is to ensure your access to the moon's version of astral energy is strong enough that you can drown out the signal of these other energies, because they can be highly unbalancing. Additionally, the moon deals with what can be considered the water aspect, or to various degrees, feminine aspect, although truthfully, Venus is really much more along this wavelength than all of the other planets that are out there. It is specifically useful in its juxtaposition to solar or sun energy. In fact, many schools of thought only teach the moon meditation, and they always teach it first, and the sun meditation. Because truthfully, if you have those two on a very basic level, you can master all of the energies of the other planets. Now, this is not a very nuanced way of doing this, but it is quite effective, particularly in various shamanistic systems where training time was at a high priority or high premium. So we've talked about the astral aspect of the moon. We've also talked about how it represents water, or the feminine-ish aspect of things. We've talked about how, writ large, it should be used as the counterbalance for all of the other energies in the planetary pantheon, with one notable exception. If you do ever get to the point of working with Saturn, you need to counterbalance with both the sun and the moon. But this is the only planet that has that requirement as far as I know at this time. Keeping in mind, I personally, as of this recording, have only gotten as far as Uranus in terms of the planetary meditations. Okay, so these are some of the major energetic effects of the moon. And again, these are the major ones that you need to keep in mind. There are many other aspects to this, and I strongly encourage you to read conventional works on astrology to learn more about this. Specifically, you need to look at the more classical works. The New Age materials that are out there are simply inaccurate the vast majority of the time, and I would definitely advise a good reading of Franz Bardon's second book on the practice of evocation for further information on this topic. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss how to practice with lunar energy. Lunar energy is interesting in that it has a largely astral character to this. This makes it very useful in the physical world and for working with magic writ large. As such, it is one of the few energies without great experience where you can tap just a little bit into the spirit or power aspect of a planet. Or as we'd like to say, the quantitative aspect of the planet just a hair. Keep in mind, fully immersing yourself into the power aspect of a planet can literally rip your subtle bodies apart, because these are supermassive spheres moving through space around the Earth. Additionally, this gives their power a kind of physical weight that the Kabbalistic letters, which make up reality writ large, generally do not have. Now, ways you can work with lunar energy. Again, being largely astral in nature, it is going to be very slow, particularly in the beginning, because this is astral energy. The monk walk, as has been discussed in Walking with Astral Energy, or the astral energy exercises, is a good example of this. Another good use of this is the super slow form or long forms used in arts like Tai Chi, or other internal martial arts. These long forms are largely valuable not because of any supposed martial application, but because they allow you to practice with specific energies for long periods of time. Astral energy in the Tai Chi long form is an excellent use of this. You can also use Bagua walking, natural boxing, or Tsuran Min walking, or any other number of arts. Just keep in mind that initially you will need to do this very slowly, or the energy will convert over to vital, which you are not looking to do. When using movement in training, it is most important to maintain the characteristics of the energy. It is most important to maintain the characteristics of that energy. Otherwise, you are losing the energetic value of the practice. So anyone here is a rather smart individual. You can figure out different weighted and movement-based exercises that you can incorporate this energy into. I will add, however, that if you generate large amounts of astral energy, it tends to make you very visible on the astral and will bring entities out to check you out. It can also result in developments of large amounts of subtle kinetic energy that spontaneously converts over into the physical. This isn't necessarily spirits getting up to no good. It's just you're carrying around a bunch of near physical energy and it wants to express itself in the physical world. So don't be surprised if you come home from work one day and in your practice area, all the chairs are flipped over. It's been known to happen and it's nothing to be upset about. Also keep in mind that when you generate lots of astral energy, you're going to attract the interest of various spirit figures, and if you haven't done the work to stabilize your personality will be greatly heightened and you will become quite emotional. These are all things to keep in mind if you want to train the power aspect of the solar sphere, of the lunar sphere. let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. I will now discuss planetary energetics in development writ large. This is not a topic that often receives much serious discussion, and even in ritual magic, they kind of tend to glance over how this is supposed to work. But there is an attachment included to this program that will allow you to look at these issues and have a more nuanced understanding of how this works. First off, as I mentioned, historically you would start with Luna, beginning with all of the different planetary meditations. In the Franz Bardon school, we start with the near-Earth spirits. There are good reasons for doing this, but this is not what was classically done. Now, as has already been discussed at length, Luna, or the moon, primarily deals with astral energy. Following on with this, you would next go to Mercury. Mercury largely deals with mental energy and the intellect. In terms of information, you could look at Mercury as the grand library of technology and what is available to be done with all of the different aspects, in this case of Kabbalah, or in information writ large. If Luna and the near-Earth realm are the engineering portion of what goes on, Mercury can largely be referred to as the science of what goes on. And for this reason, you really need both. Additionally, I've noticed that people who work with Mercury tend to pick up more than a few IQ points as well. So there are a number of reasons for dealing with this. But the short note version of this is Mercury deals with mental energy, and it deals with the library of information that applies to all things that you could learn. This is where all of the specialists, from everything from leatherworking to engineering to the hard sciences, largely reside. After Mercury, all the follow-on planets tend to deal with more issues involving the fundamentals of human nature, or, as the case may be, greater cosmic or usually planetary issues. So just keep in mind, Mercury will greatly expand your mental field in the same manner that Luna greatly expanded your astral field. After this, we come to Venus. Energetically speaking, what Venus does is it squeezes these now expanded bodies in your system. And by doing so, it has the similar effect to taking a sponge that is filled with water and squeezing that water out. In this case, what it is squeezing out is all of your quote-unquote issues or personality defects. It is bringing these to the surface. Now, this is the first point where most magicians get stopped cold. The reason for this is Venus utilizes the principle of pleasure to do this. So it feels really, really, really good. And it forces all of this junk in your body to the surface. Also, Venus has an interesting relationship to medicine and wealth and things that we would call celebrity. It also has a generally magnetic nature to it as well, which makes people attracted to you, particularly members of the opposite sex if you are interested in that. Additionally, the Venusian spirits are quite nice to look at if your clairvoyance is developed to that point. So people get attracted to this pleasure and all of the things that it brings about, and this is a topic covered in my upcoming book, Training the Planets, at length. And they never get around to dealing with the sun or the solar sphere. Now, the solar sphere's purpose energetically is to burn off all of this junk that Venus has brought to the surface. This is extremely important and requires real effort. Also, it is one of the harsher planets in terms of its energetic capacity. It is also where working with these planets can get physically dangerous. Because if you have ignored the warnings on maintaining a clean body and a clean lifestyle and a clean mind, you can inadvertently summon a negative sun spirit. These are very dangerous. I myself, when I was younger and not nearly as experienced with these matters, successfully did this. It resulted in a psychotic break that lasted several hours. Luckily, other than some broken furniture, no one else was around at the time, so no harm, no foul. But it did take me a couple of years to get over that experience. Now, traditionally, the sun is mentioned to have a huge effect upon your vital energy, and this is true. But the mechanism by which this works is by burning off all the obstructions in your energetic and physical body. It allows your energy to move more freely, thereby enhancing your vital force. Next, we move on to Mars. Mars receives a bad rap for a whole lot of reasons, many of which are valuable. However, the issue is Mars has to deal with engineering, warfare, and animal husbandry. So if you don't have a background in any of these things, you're going to have a very harsh experience there. On the other hand, due to my multiple deployments during the course of my life, I was very comfortable with that martial energy. Now, energetically, what Mars is going to do is it's going to take a certain portion of this newly liberated vital force in your body and push that into your extremities, ligaments, tendons, and muscles. This also has a reinvigorating force upon your mitochondrial DNA. In men, it has a very potent sexual component to it. So again, if you've made no effort to mitigate your personality and you're entering uncharted waters because you've never deployed or you don't have a background from the military or engineering or animal husbandry or one of the associated issues with Mars, it's going to be a pretty rough time. Also, the outer planets, starting with Mars, are where the effects you have become highlighted by who you are, and these are no longer universal experiences. These are experiences you have access to based off your experience in life. This is where things get tricky if you are not a very well-rounded person. Following Mars, we come to Jupiter. Jupiter is quite literally the realm of kings. So if the energy of Mars is the energy of getting things done, and hence guys get frustrated when they run a lot of Mars energy and they don't have anything to do, because that Mars energy is encouraging them to get things done, and they don't have anything to get done. Jupiter is the energy of a beloved king. You are now a king of your empire. You are a king of your kingdom. You are a beloved, beneficent king, and you are running your kingdom. So what this does is this has an oddly magnetic effect, not dissimilar from the letter N, even though Jupiter is an air letter. And this gets into an issue later on where the planetary effects don't necessarily align with the classic Kabbalistic letters. I'll discuss that at a different time. So this airy, slightly magnetic but expansive energy results in people viewing you as a king. Now, they will also then want to help you with your goals because you are a king and it is natural to help you with them. So this is something to keep in mind, and you have to be very careful not to bring this energy around family much, because if you do, it will definitely compromise your relationships. If you are currently an employee of someone, this can also result in your being fired, because your boss or the people you work for will look at you as another entrepreneur. Your being there will be destructive. Your being there will be disruptive to what they're attempting to do. And good employers will happily fire you with the advice of, hey man, go start your own business and we may do some work together later on. Now, I will not openly discuss what happens with Saturn and beyond, other than to say this. Working with Saturn is not for everybody. Specifically, if you have good karma, and you've already worked your way through Jupiter as a magician, you definitely have good karma. The danger in working with Saturn is twofold. Saturn dissolves karma, so it can literally dissolve your path in life and lead you completely adrift. This is extremely dangerous on a number of fronts. Additionally, there is the risk of corruption. Saturn specifically is a jailhouse for magicians who have misbehaved. You go, well, I haven't misbehaved. What's the problem? Well, like every good jailhouse, the jailhouse needs guards. And the way they get guards is by offering you something that you haven't earned. And since the spirits of Saturn control karma, the entire goodie bag is open and at your disposal. If anything, most people sell themselves too cheaply. That said, being a guard in a place like Saturn, where time essentially does not exist, is an extremely long-term and generally unpleasant commitment. So what I tell most people is, unless you have some burning desire to go to Uranus, and really that means you have to go all the way to Pluto, to learn Kabbalah, there's no real need to go to Saturn. Additionally, in this coursework, I will only be offering coursework through the Jovian or Jupiter sphere. If you really feel like going on past that, that is something you are going to have to figure out on your own, just as I did, and as everybody else. So this is a little information on the energetics of the planets, and it is generally things that are not openly discussed. Of course, all of the follow-on modules in this series will also have more information specific to the planets in question. Let us begin.